Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I am your host, JP John Paz. With me today, returning guests. Of course, he was in WCW, WWF, ECWA, Smoky Mountain. Man, he's a Northeast wrestling legend. Definitely a wrestling legend here in New Jersey. Former three-time ISPW World Heavyweight Champion. He is, of course, Mike Muraldo, a.k.a. Ace Starling. Ace, welcome back. How you doing?
Let's re-record that because I'm a five-time former
Whoa.
ISPW champion.
Oh, I thought it was three. Oh, Tommy, you better
You won't
update
give me a
your stuff there.
three-time. Come on,
Yeah,
Bull James.
yeah.
Crowbar. Come on.
Tommy's got to
Listen, buddy,
update that. Damn.
good to be back on. Thanks for having
Yes.
me.
Yes. You know what's great? I talked to Tommy today, and I said, Rick Recon's out of the title picture for right now. Bull James is definitely, I know he's in the tournament. Maybe he's going back. And we both said, we kind of need, an ace in the hole, if you will. We kind of need, are you returning to wrestling?
We're getting a bad connection. I
Uh,
can't hear you. You gotta repeat that. Just skip whatever you said. We'll just move on. 'Cause that's never in a million years going to happen.
what?
Promise you
Why
that.
not?
Oh, yeah.
Why not?
I just turned 49 this week. Beat up, out of shape, and I'm just not gonna. I'm just at to a point in my life where I'm not gonna risk getting hurt for a few bucks and for a tiny bit of glory that I don't really want anymore. I'm happy being a dad and just doing the YouTube thing and chatting with guys like you and having fun with wrestling. That's as far as it's gonna go, though.
If you think about it, though, booking wise, it would be smart to bring you back in and put you in the title picture. Booking wise, even because the storyline that you were the referee with Bull James and kind of Recon kind of got screwed for a little bit. So I don't know. Would make sense booking wise, though. Just throwing that out there would make sense.
I'll tell you where you can throw it out. You can keep throwing it out there.
But you mentioned YouTube. Obviously, what's going on in your world? What's going on today? Wrestling then and now.
Yes, well, I got yourself. You got guys like Hannibal, the original OGs, doing such a great job out there with YouTube, and I get so many wrestling connections. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just start my own thing. I started about a year ago. I've had Axe, I've had Smash, I've had Jim Brunzell, I've had Mosh and Thrasher, and Boris Zukov, and Mike Chioda, Stevie Ray, Ken Patera. I've had probably about 70 guys in the last year. Just been fortunate enough to record and have them share their stories. I realize I might not be your biggest guest, but I have a story. Like everybody
Yep.
has a story. Everybody has a journey, and it's just awesome hearing other people's stories. So yeah, I'm gonna try and do what you guys have been doing so well, and it's been a lot of fun. It's like my wrestling therapy.
Yeah, it's so true. Every guy has a story. It's like, oh, is this guy a big name? But then you're like, wait a second, he was there. He experienced this. He did that. Even you. I mean, you were everywhere. I mean, God, from Iron Mike Sharp all the way through. I mean, it's just amazing with the career. So, I mean, you have a hell of a story.
Let's go away. Let's talk about it.
So, as far as though, I'll get to that in a second. Though, just going
Yeah.
back to wrestling that are now on YouTube.
Yes.
We'll do the plugs obviously at the end. But where can everybody get it? And like, what's been the best experience so far with doing it?
It's Wrestling Then and Now on YouTube. Please click subscribe. Best experience. It's catching up with people that I haven't talked to in a while, like D'Lo Brown or Scotty Too Hottie, guys who I used to see more often. It's it's great, like making new friends. Like when I reach out to someone I've never met before, but only seen them on TV. Like I recorded with Baby Doll this week. I never met Baby Doll,
Awesome.
and when someone is so nice to freely give their time to me, I feel just almost like a responsible to make sure I do my best to promote it and I do my best to show respect for them and their time. So I mean, I'm not all about the sleaze and dirt. Hey, if you want to talk about it, bring it up. Sure, we can go there. But like, I'm just very respectful of anyone who's willing to take their time to share their journey with me and my listeners. So it's been an awesome ride. And like I said, it's like my wrestling therapy. And I've been able to reconnect with old friends like Paul London, who introduced me to Rene Dupree, who I do his watch alongs now. So it's just a lot of people helping each other out and we're trying to bring everyone up rather than oh, you're doing this too, and stepping on them. Like you and I, we'll text and talk about this
Yeah.
stuff, and it's just It's a great wrestling outlet for me. I love it.
It's
Absolutely love it.
fun. Yeah, it can be a lot of fun. It's funny. I was texting you about Paul London. It's like, man, he is nutty. You're like, I love Paul. I was like, I like him, but he is nutty. He can be he can be crazy. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I love Paul. He's a good dude.
They used to chant "Please don't die" when he wrestled. So I mean, obviously, he can be a little out there for sure. Who has been some of your like absolute favorite guests? Maybe even like dream guests you were able to get so far.
I always wanted Ahmed Johnson, believe it or not, and I got him recently.
Very rare. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Um, I was like guys that I grew up watching. Like it's such a thrill to sit down and talk to Bill Eadie, Demolition Axe, or Barry Darso, Demolition Smash, or Jim Brunzell. It's just amazing when you're nice to people. My wife will say, "Why is so and so going to do your show?" I'm like, "Well, babe, when you're nice to people your whole life, they remember that. So when people come to Tommy's events, I'm Tommy's right hand
Yeah.
man. Or when Tommy puts the word in for me, or guys like who I helped break in when they were breaking in, guys like Matt Stryker or Darren Young, when Cherry was on. So they come back on because I was, when I was a higher on the card than they were, I treated them like I wanted to be treated myself. So just simple life lessons. Be nice to people. Pay off in the long run.
Bill Eadie's such a smart guy. It's almost like, man, what are you doing in wrestling? Like, you're too smart for this business. But right, I think he was a teacher at one point. But I know he's a super super smart guy. Great interview.
Yeah, I could listen to him talk all day, or like Kevin Sullivan. I could like, I could listen to Kevin read the phone book. Or I Bill DeMott on. Bill DeMott was someone who did so much for me breaking in. It's just I love doing this. It came from an idea from my neighbor slash friend John, who said this last July. Why don't you try doing this? And right away I just start going through my phone, and like everyone's saying yes. It's been a great ride so far.
And it's so cool if you look at it and you're saying like wrestling therapy, but if you actually like go through your career and you look, you probably wrestled almost every one of those guys, right? If you think about like D'Lo and the Headbangers, and if you really start going through,
Sure. Yeah, there was I had Ron Shaw on. Remember Ron Shaw
yeah,
from
Big
back in
Ron
the day?
Shaw, yeah, yep.
I wrestled him. Like there's a lot of guys, yeah,
Whoa,
where it's like, and he didn't even remember me, but gosh,
yeah,
he was in the twilight of his career. I wasn't just starting, but yeah, I've wrestled a lot of them. Like I said, D'Lo, the Headbangers, um, gosh, Striker, Carino, Doring, Richards. I wrestled, a lot of big name wrestlers that weren't on my show, of course. But
yeah.
yeah, it's been fun. I'm very fortunate. I made a lot of good friends, and I have a lot of good memories from wrestling.
Big Ron Shaw, he's a character because I guess he had a bad interview with somebody. So like that, like he could get a little skeptical, let's just say, of some of the people because somebody in New Jersey too, or New Jersey or New York, he had a bad interview and they asking him all this like salacious stuff, and he's like, I'm not answering that, I'm not answering that. So I know he could be a little hard to get just because I know he's not happy with some of his past interviews. That's why it's always great to get like an interview guy like you where they're not gonna be like, "Hey, Ron, who did Hogan sleep with in '81?" or crazy stuff like that.
Right. Or Ken Patera. Ken's hit or miss on his interviews, and
Yeah,
I I did. Do you remember the DVDs that are in Walmart, the Grand Masters of Wrestling, Maccabi
yeah,
Mania? So I did those with Ken. Gosh, '92. I watched WrestleMania 93 with Ken after the first Maccabee Mania. So I haven't seen Ken in gosh 30 years. So a mutual friend, Jeff, reached out to Ken. He's like, "Hey, I'll do a show." I come on. He's like, "What happened to you? You used to have long hair and a hell of a body." And I'm like, "Ken, you've kind of changed in 30 years too, sir." But Ken's great. I love Ken.
he's so
Nothing
funny.
but great experiences.
He's great because I said to him last time I talked to him, I was like, "Oh, there's no way you want to talk about McDonald's." And he goes, "This fucking guy, Steve, or whoever it was," he goes, "He's talking to me, never even asked me if I wanted to talk about it." He goes, "At least you have the decency to ask me." And no, I don't want to talk about it. So he's just so funny.
Yeah, yeah. I
What a
didn't mention
character.
McDonald's.
Yeah, like that was like one of the things like you probably don't want to talk about it. Right? He's like, hell no, I don't want to talk about it. He talked about it a million times, and also that just pisses him off. I mean, it's 2 years of his career down the toilet there. So
Yeah,
sometimes better to stay away from stuff like that.
yeah. Very true. And then we have the
Now,
people that just leave you hanging, who you and I talk about off
yeah,
off
yeah.
the off the
They
air. But yeah,
they have their own term to us now that when
we
somebody
do.
ditches you or doesn't show up, yeah,
You
that's
want
a
me to say it?
term.
I have no problem saying it.
You could say it. You could say
It's
it.
called getting McGurked.
Yes. Yeah.
Figure it out, people.
Yeah. And it's so funny because she's like so nice and it's so sweet, but it just happens. It's just not. Some people just aren't as reliable, if you will. Yes.
Twice, but hey, I'm
Yes.
not going to try for a third. But hey,
I was foolish enough to try for three. Oh, for three. Yeah. But I did talk to her at 80's time for
yes,
about 10
yes,
minutes. So
yes.
that
I
that
saw
was
that.
nice. Yeah, that was good. So
Yes.
at least I got her there. But she did apologize. Oh, I'm so sorry, canceled
Mm,
3 times. But I just love that now that's almost like a little inside baseball, little inside joke. Like, hey, you got McGurk by, this guy. I
love
almost
it.
got McGurk by somebody, like that's just a
Yeah,
funny
yeah,
little thing to throw out
yeah.
there.
Yeah. Awesome.
So we're talking about like great stories and stuff, but I feel like having Iron Mike Sharp as a trainer, I mean, that's got to be a story within itself because man, what a crazy, eccentric, I guess OCD ridden guy he was, but an absolute legend to me for sure. I mean, when I used to go to shows and he's out there, everyone Iron Mike Sharp, hey, and he's got the thing on his arm, so everyone knows Iron Mike Sharp. How did you start training with
He opened a school literally door to door is 15 minutes from my house growing up.
him? Wow,
So
awesome.
it could not have been easier. I was 17. I joined Mike Sharp's wrestling school. And the funny thing is, I tell everybody, I love Mike Sharp. He's an honest man. He's a nice man. He's a hard worker in the ring, but he's never once got in the ring to train me. Not once. I think he did
Wow.
before I got there, but Mike Sharp's was kind of like a free for all. It was like, all right, so if you were here before me, you show me what you know, and then once I know certain things, I'll show the new guys coming in. But there was no like structure. There's no like formal class. It was just kind of like go in there and have a bunch of guys on each corner and just work on moves. So yeah, Mike's awesome. I think I always tell this story when someone brings up Mike Sharp. I think he didn't want the WWF to know he had a school because if he did, he would have told them. And the reason we all started doing TV was I graduated. So I started training in February of '92. I graduated high school June of '92. Like the first week in July of '92, they came to Asbury Park, and Tony Garea was in the crowd. He was working behind the scenes. So I went up to him and I introduced myself, and I said, if you ever need job guys, I'd be more than happy to work for you guys. And he says, oh, Mike Sharp has a school. So the next day in class, Mike Sharp's like, who told Tony Garea I have a school? And I'm like, it's me. So he never confirmed the fact that he didn't want the office to know he had a school. But if he wanted him to know he had a school, he would have told him he had a school. But so
Yeah.
that's what happened.
Why didn't he want them to know? That's weird. Wouldn't that help him and the guys get work?
I think if I'm just guessing here, but if I had to guess, Mike was in the twilight of his career, trying to keep as many bookings as he can. Back then he did TV like once every 3 days, every 3 weeks. So the income probably helped out pretty much. He wasn't doing a lot of house shows back then. Indies are probably a few times a month. So TV was probably a big chunk of his income. So I don't think he wanted them to have an option to get more guys. I don't know. Maybe I'm making all this up. But again, if you want him to know you had a school, he had a
Yeah,
school
he
for
would
about a
have.
year before I told him. Yeah.
That's interesting. It almost is like the opposite. He almost was like, I don't want them to know I'm making money over here. They'll stop booking me or something. That's kind of was his thought. But in my head, I'm thinking he probably would have booked his guys more often.
I don't think it was the fact that he didn't want the WWF to know for him. I think he was worried that if more guys went up there, they wouldn't need him in that spot of doing enhancement work.
Oh,
That
gotcha,
I mean, again,
gotcha.
this is my conspiracy theory, but
Yes,
that's
yes,
that's what I think happened. I could be
yeah.
wrong, but that's what I think happened.
So he would never get in the ring to train you. What would he do? Like, what did he teach you guys?
Nothing.
Really?
He's
Wow.
never given me. No, Mike really didn't do anything. It was me and a guy Bobby Piper and a guy Mike Tarris who still works today.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, Go in there and just Bob Piper had a little more experience. and just practicing on each other. And that's really it. Mike really, he just provided the school and the ring and his name, and he'd show up. But again, he'd never really get involved with the training. No, it's odd, very odd.
No psychology training either, or like
Oh
do
no,
this, do that.
zero,
Nothing. Wow.
zero.
Wow.
I mean, it's zero. And I'm not zero. There's zero training from Mike Sharp. The only time I ever locked up with Mike Sharp, there was a promoter called John Gold, who did a lot with wrestling, but he did also a lot with like personal appearances and stuff like that.
The
So he,
legendary Jonathan Gold.
you know, John.
Yes.
Oh, you know, John.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah,
Yeah. Of
great
course.
guy. I
Yeah.
love
He
John.
passed away a few years ago. Yeah.
Oh, did he? I
Unfortunately.
didn't know that.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Yep.
Oh, John's a great guy.
Yep.
So John would book these day camps, and one day was Nikolai Volkov, and one day was Mike Sharp, and he because they needed a guy to show moves on, so that he had me go on the 2 days with Mike Sharp and Nikolai, and that was the only time I've ever locked up with Mike Sharp was at that day camp.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Thinking like, wow, this guy trained with Mike Sharp, and he does not help you guys one iota. That sucks.
But I don't want to come off the fact that I'm putting the boots to Mike Sharp.
Right.
I'm just
Right.
I was being honest. He didn't really train us.
Right.
Um, Great guy, an honest man,
Hey, open
and
the door for you guys.
yeah, and I love Mike Sharp, and so sad when he passed away. But as far as getting broken in by Mike Sharp, really he didn't really give me any guidance or advice or anything. He'd run
So,
shows though. He'd run shows at his school every 2 weeks. And that was a great experience for 17, 18-year-old kid. Every 2 weeks was like WrestleMania at the school. It was such a big deal to wrestle in front of 30, 40, 50, 60 people for you're only going to learn in front of the crowd. So Mike did do that. He had it shows at his school, and it was a great learning experience doing those.
so you think that helped you a lot though, like actually wrestling in front of the people rather than somebody teaching you holds? Do you think you learn quicker, kind of like actually doing it rather than someone going, "All right, get in shape, do some cardio, do some holds." Of you're some reason muted. I don't know why I couldn't hear you
I'm
for a second.
sorry. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
there
Can
you
you
go.
hear me?
Yep, there you go. Yep.
No, I think if someone broke us in a little better and taught us the fundamentals better and the psychology of the business better, it would have been a better experience. And ran shows as well.
Now, I have an interesting Mike Sharp story just because from going to the shows, we were in the second row. This is 1990 at the Brendan Byrne Arena, if you will, in the Meadowlands. And for some reason, my dad's friend is there, and he's like 40 or whatever he is at this point. But he's arguing with Mike Sharp, and they almost got in a fight because Mike Sharp was getting so worked up. Like my dad's friend would not stop hounding him. He's like, what's that stupid thing on your hand? Like, oh, it was great. We could, as like, I'm 8, 9 years old or whatever it is. I can't stop cracking up. Iron Mike Sharp is about to fight my dad's friend.
Yeah, Mike was great. Mike was a hard worker in there. He really was. You go and watch those old house shows. He never stopped. He never slowed down. He was amazing in the ring.
What was he? Canada's greatest athlete or Canada's greatest wrestler?
Canada's greatest athlete. Yes.
Athlete, yes, yes. Gotta love Iron Mike, man. What a like a legend, just a true pro wrestler. Like if you look at somebody like, yeah, this guy's got to be a pro wrestler. You know what I mean? Like old school wrestler.
He wasn't going to work at the bank. Yeah, Mike
Yes,
Sharp wasn't. Yeah, that's
yeah,
great.
yeah. This guy's not a bank teller. Yeah, definitely not. This guy, truck driver. Nah, this guy's a pro wrestler. Yeah, for sure. Now, as far as like getting Mike Sharp stories, like and him being around and stuff. I think Bobby the Brain Heenan had a great story of he had a shower like a few times a night or something, and they ended up locking him in the building. Are these stories true, or is he
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like,
oh, it's
oh, this
100% true.
true? Okay,
They locked him in. I want to say it was the Boston Gardens. That yeah, he would
oh
wrestle,
my god,
then he would work out for hours and hours and hours. Then he would shower, and yeah, long, long showers. Like if he was going to get dressed, he had a pad that he put down on the ground, so his knee would go on the pad, not the ground, and he's constantly deodorant and washing his hands. But yeah, he was taking a shower so long, they locked him in the arena. So he starts making noise. Hey, I'm down here. They released the dogs on him because they didn't know what was going on. Yeah,
wow, holy damn! And what is that? Just OCD? Like what was going on there?
yeah, I'm sure that's what it was. Yeah, there was
Extreme
no such
OCD.
thing as that back in the 90s. Any kid with OCD in the 90s got smacked in the head and said, "Go back to your class and you know get over it. You know, they didn't have those diagnoses back then. I'm sure, gosh, in the 50s, 60s, 70s from Mike, they didn't either.
Now, was he pissed about Boston Garden, or was he just accepting that, hey, it took too long or whatever?
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure it's Mike. I never saw Mike really pissed ever. He was a very laid back guy.
I love that story. It's just like, what the hell? Like, everyone's leaving, they're all out of the building. This guy's still there, showering and working out and hanging out. And then, obviously didn't know that part, but they stick the dogs on him. He's in there for so long.
Yes, there's dogs on
That's
him.
great. So, does he help you get the WWF enhancement bookings, or is that all Tony Gurria doing that?
Then they would go to Mike and they'd request certain guys. There was a guy, Dan Dubiel, that used a lot. Simon Dean before he was Nova, before he was Simon Dean, he was Mike, Mike Busey, Mike Bucci. So we would do a lot of TV, a lot, and it was every 3 weeks. We weren't booked on all of them, but all the Northeast ones, from anywhere from Rhode Island, Connecticut, Delaware, New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, Maine. We do the TV tapings. It was. I mean, I was 18 years old. They pay $150 a night plus trans, plus hotel, and you get 3 days in a row. So $450 for 3 days work when you're 18, when you're in college. That was a great experience. And you're working with the greatest wrestlers in the world, and you're learning to work on TV. You're learning to just shut up and listen to a guy in the ring. The experience was awesome.
Now, does he get like a van for you guys? Do you guys get there on your own? Like, how does that
Yeah.
work? Or does he even go with you, Mike Sharp, or no?
No, he was booked on the TVs, but no, we'd go up on our own. Sometimes they'd request three of us. Sometimes they'd request four of us. Sometimes there were times where they requested like 8 guys, but there was a few that we'd always go. Me, Dan Dubiel, and Mike Bucci.
Did it help your relationship with him that you guys were getting the bookings, or did it not even matter? Didn't even register to him?
No, it didn't. Everything was fine. Everything was great. He didn't make an issue out of it. It just became so regular that we did TV so much. It wasn't like we went up there once. We went up there in '93, and then once '94 started rolling, we were there all the time because then they had Raw, so they had another. Those TV tapings were just brutal. They were 30, 40 matches, so you just constantly needed bodies. You'd get there, and there'd be a piece of paper on the wall, and it would say, okay, it would say like. There'd be like 30 matches, and they had the dark match in the bottom, like let's say Bret Hart versus Yokozuna, and then throughout they'd have hour one, the Quebecers versus and be blank, Razor Ramon versus, and then as the day went on, they'd update the sheets, and they'd have the enhancement guys on the sheets as the day went on, so you'd know who you're working with.
And you're Mike Muraldo at this point, right? You're not Ace Darling yet. You're just Mike Muraldo on WWF
Right,
TV.
just doing WWF TV, yeah. But when I came back for the light heavyweight division, I was Ace. Yeah, that was 97, 98. Yeah. So by then I had a lot more experience. But yeah, it's just Mike Muraldo doing TV, just straight up job matches.
I would love that, Joe. That's amazing. Like at that age, it's like, okay, 450, 3 days. I'm wrestling, the Quebecers and Razor Ramon and Diesel. I mean, that's pretty awesome. Like looking at it.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It was cool then, I'll tell you that. But it's cool now too, to look back and say, yeah, it was pretty cool. I got to do that when I was, this age, and it didn't, did I reach the levels I thought I was going to? No, but hey, that's life. That's life. I'm not bitter or negative, but yeah, it was definitely. I loved it. I loved it. Who did I talk? I talked to Gilbert. He was on my show, and we said we loved being in the ring there. We just loved it. But yeah, was I a jobber? Yeah, but I loved doing it. I loved working for the WWF. Loved it, and WCW, but um, WWF was just amazing.
When you work with those guys, let's say Quebecers, for instance, you hear stories, and as a fan, you're watching, you're like, man, they're beating the hell out of these guys. But I hear from guys like PJ, Just Incredible, who I'm buddies with, that when he would work as PJ Walker or whatever, it looked like the head shrinkers absolutely killed him. And he goes, no, not really. And it's like, wow, are you sure? And then DeVito would be like, Steiners were, a little stiff. And then PJ would be like, no, they were okay with me, but it just looked like they were killing them. So when your experience, like wrestling some of those guys, either Quebecers, for instance, because I've seen them, some of those Pierre moves, there's no way not to get like destroyed on some of them. Like, were they stiff at all or no?
Quebecers, yes. Pierre, extremely. Yeah, he landed that tower is absolutely brutal. I'd smack you in the ear. Like they were. I'll tell you, they were the worst. If I'm ranking The
Right.
guys I worked with. Matt Bourne. Matt Bourne knocked me out with a punch behind the ear. But pretty much the head shrinkers were just a night off. They were amazing,
I know that's so
unbelievable.
funny because I was saying that to PJ. He
Yeah.
goes, "Oh my god!" He goes, "They barely touch you," and I'm like, "What? It looked like they killed you." Oh my god.
Yeah. I've worked them. I mean, I worked Samu probably 15 times because of the indie matches, but the head shrinkers themselves I worked with I think 3 times on TV, and I took the big splash, and he wasn't Rikishi size at the time, but Fatu is still a big boy,
Oh
and he
yeah,
totally took care of you. I wrestled everybody though. I mean, and everyone did take care of you. I wrestled Sean and Diesel and Razor and Ludwig Borga, Adam Baum, IRS, Jeff Jarrett, Henry Godwin, Tatanka, Bam Bam, Heavenly Bodies. If you were a heel during that time, I pretty much worked with you. I'm sure I'm leaving a lot. Bastion Booger. I don't know if I said him or not, but a lot of guys. Yeah, I wrestled everybody.
it's an awesome list. What? How was Ludwig Borga to work with? Stiff at all, or how was he?
Okay, so before the match, he comes up to me. Can I curse on this?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. He comes up to me and he says to me, he says, tonight, he goes, and he gets real close to me. And he's a scary man. He's a big man. He
Yeah.
goes, tonight, he goes, if and Scott Steiner was sitting right there, he goes, tonight, if you fuck up, I fuck you up. And he walked away. Yeah. And Scott Steiner was like,
Oh,
whoa. Yeah, but no,
whoa.
I went out there. I'll send you the match. It's on YouTube. I take a bump off a clothesline for him. I made him look like $1,000,000. He loved it. He could not have been happier. Um,
He is
but
a
yeah,
scary motherfucker.
he
Was a
was the only
scary
one to ever
motherfucker.
say stuff like that. He's the only one to ever say anything like that to me. That you better watch your ass out there, or something like that. Everyone was always super professional. You got to think of it this way: like you think, oh, these guys are going to beat you up. These guys need your body to get over.
Yep.
So if they're going to lay a stiff shot in, okay, I get it. I get it. But if you're there with a good attitude to make them look good, they're going to love having you there. And they're going to want to take care of you because they want you to come back and work with them again or work with their friends again. So I had zero problems with WWF, except like I said, the Quebecers, when that tower move, that destroyed me. I was done for days after that. It was tough. It was tough taking that. But besides that, and Matt Bourne, years later, we can do a whole episode with my relationship with Matt Bourne on a podcast. Years later, he started living like 5 minutes from me, so he would come over all the time. I told him that. I said, you knocked me out in the match we worked on TV. He said, did I? And he didn't think nothing of it. Like it's just. It's just such a different mindset, some of the old school raw bone grizzled guys, like Matt Bourne's a
Yep.
man. He's not a boy, he's a man, Oh, did I knock you out? Okay. So what? But that was Matt. That was
Old
Matt.
school, tough guy.
Yeah.
Old school to the bone. Yeah.
Yeah. It
Did
wasn't,
you
oh,
see?
sorry, did I really knock you out? It
Yeah.
was, oh, did I? He was in my
Did you
kitchen.
see? Did you see the Dark Side of the Ring with Doink?
I did. I was in 2 clips there, him and I wrestling for the WWF. I did. Um, Again, I get to summer 2010, I probably saw Matt, I don't want to say every day, but damn near close to it.
I didn't realize he was living in New Jersey.
He had a girlfriend who lived in Jersey, who lived in Freehold, and I was in Howell. So we're like, and where I worked was in Freehold. So I would get off of work and I'd go to the gym with him. And in 2010, I was in the best shape of my life. I was shredded. I was in unbelievable shape. And Matt's like, we should go start going to the gym together. All right, let's go. I'd go to the gym with Matt. And Matt, Matt's body. He's just a thick guy, a little pudgy, just a thick man. And I'm like,
Solid.
I hope he can keep up with me in the gym. He destroyed me in the gym. And I was in the best shape of my life. My wife now at the time was my girlfriend. I say to her, Matt wants to work out again. The clown is killing me. The clown is killing me. I tell her. He was just it's just a different animal. Those guys, you know, just a different breed. Those like hear stories about Wahoo McDaniel or guys like that. It's
Yep.
they're just men. Harley Race. They're just men. But yeah, all the stories in that what's called Dark Side. And I'll be honest with you, that was the only Dark Side I've ever seen so far. I
Wow,
just,
really? Okay.
yeah, I just don't have time between the kids and work. But yeah, I wanted to watch that. And Matt told me a lot of the stories that were in there. Like he talked to me about his kids a lot and talked to me about, oh my God, I'm getting a good story for you. Talked to me about the heat with Jim Duggan from Mid South. But so I get a phone call one night and it's Matt and he's like, "Where are you right now?" It's Saturday night. I'm like, "I'm at so and so restaurant bar with my wife and some friends." He's like, "I'm coming over. I almost beat up Jim Duggan tonight." The night that happened with Jim Duggan,
Yeah.
he hung out with me. So
Wow.
he walks into the bar, and I'll be honest with you, I was a little nervous because I only hung out with Matt. I, I call it Matt was my indoor friend. He can come over to my house. I'll barbecue. We go in my pool, but I was scared to go out with Matt.
Right. Yep.
And rightfully so.
Yeah, there's some friends
So
like that. Yep.
yeah, I call. You know what? Now you have a new term: indoor friends.
I
Those are
like
your
that.
indoor
Yes.
friends. Yeah, come over.
Yes.
I'll barbecue. We can hang outside. But yeah,
Yeah,
you're
I'm not
afraid.
going out with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I was real scared. So Matt walks in. He's still got like the paint around his ears. His hair is green, and we're in a restaurant. Matt's standing there.
What a
But
nut.
yeah,
Yeah.
he told me the whole story about him and Jim Duggan. Yeah, that everyone knows the story. But uh, as an hour after it happened, he's with me hanging out, having a beer at the bar.
It's
So
amazing. It's
yeah,
not probably not good to be bitter for that long, right? 20, 30 years and hold that
yeah.
grudge.
Matt was. Someone asked me today about Matt. People have been popping up and asking me questions about Matt lately. I guess because of the dark side. But yeah, Matt was a very good person that made very bad decisions. Like you looked at him and you knew there was a good person in there, but you knew there was a sad person in there. I
Yeah.
felt, but when he came over, he was great to my son. He was great to my wife now, my girlfriend at the time. If I had guests over, he was never embarrassing. He was again, you looked in his eyes and you saw like there was a tortured person behind those eyes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you another Matt story. Matt told me one time. I remember where he was in my backyard because I remember this story so clear because I was so amazed by it. So he goes to me. So Vince McMahon knew that I was doing drugs and this and that, and he calls me. He calls me into a broom closet. He goes, there I am, lacing up my boots, and Vince said, looked down at me. I'm lacing my boots. Says, Matt, listen to me. So he said, so I stopped, looked up at him. He goes, don't screw this up. He says, I'm going to take a lever above your head right now. I'm going to pull the lever, and more money is going to fall on top of you than you've ever experienced in your entire life. Don't screw this up. And like 3 weeks later, he's fired.
Wow. Damn. Damn. I guess the addiction issues and whatever was going on with him, it kind of, was deeply wounded.
Yeah. Yeah. See, we were just talking about this earlier tonight. Everyone's got stories. People might say,
Yep.
"Oh, hey, Starring, I never heard of that guy. I'm not going to listen." But everyone's got cool stories to tell. That's why I love this YouTube
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
But yeah,
I
that's what
agree.
Matt told me. That's what Matt told me. He told me that story. It's just he and I in the backyard. He said that. I was like, wow.
Wow.
And yeah, like a couple of weeks later, he's fired. And they
Wow.
did
It's
nothing with the
crazy.
Doink character besides, him, the new Doink Ray Apollo wrestled, Bam Bam. But after that, it was just, no one could have got that gimmick over like Matt. And once Matt got it over, I could have done it. You could have done it. Anyone could have done it. But if it started with us, it wouldn't have went anywhere. He got that character over. He was amazing. Amazing Doink.
It's crazy. Like the evil Doink is such a great gimmick, but babyface Doink, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
heel Doink is
yeah,
the best.
yeah. But even Matt with as a babyface Doink could have got nothing. No disrespect to Ray Apollo, he did great with Doink, but Matt had the tortured background
Yeah, there's something
portraying
devious
that
about it.
character.
Yes. Yes.
It
Yep.
wasn't acting with him. That was Matt. So I think only Matt could have got that character over like it did. And think
Didn't he
about it on
play?
paper. Think about that on paper. A wrestling clown. Who's going to get that over? No
Yes.
one.
Yes. I always think that, like, man, if you put that gimmick and you just wrote it on paper, it's like, come on, that's so silly. And then you watch, you're like, wow, this guy is like enthralling. Like, holy crap, this is awesome.
Can't take your eyes off the TV. What's he gonna do
Pretty
next?
awesome. Yep.
Yeah.
Didn't you play Doink at one point in your indie run?
Dennis Corlew needed a doink. So so for a three show weekend, I was doink. I wrestled Raven, I wrestled Balls Mahoney, and I wrestled Tom Brandy as doink. Hated every second of it. I hated every second of it. And then John Gold, here we go again, John Gold.
Yep.
He calls me up and he's like, "Well, we got the Doink costume, and some father wants Doink the Clown at his kid's bar mitzvah." So it's $300. I'm gonna keep 100. I'm gonna give 100 to Dennis because he owns the costume, and I'm gonna give you 100. You want to go there for an hour? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? So there's some kid right now, some 40-year-old accountant who thinks Doink the Clown was at his bar mitzvah when he was a kid. Sorry, it was me.
It was Ace Darling. It wasn't
Yeah.
really, it wasn't Ray or Matt Bourne. It was Ace Darling. Did he mind like you playing the Doink gimmick? Now that you know this for like years later, you knew him really well. Did he mind? Like, hey,
Oh
why the hell were you playing?
yeah.
Oh, he was
Well,
pissed.
he didn't know. I mean, I don't think I was on his radar, but he was not happy when guys did his gimmick. No, because it got pretty out of control with the doinks on the
Oh
indies.
my
It,
god,
it went
insane.
from the same costume, the same makeup to just a guy walking out in street clothes with a red nose, calling himself Doink the Clown, or the Funny Clown, or the Wrestling
Yep,
Clown, or
yep.
any way you got to get around the trademark so you don't get sued. But yeah, it got pretty bad. There was Alabama Doink for a while there.
Yes,
Remember
that
that?
was awful. Oh my god, what a disgrace. Yes.
But yeah, yeah, that's indie wrestling for you.
Oh, it's crazy. Do you remember Wacky Wayne, Wayne Wu? He was a New
Mhm,
Jersey indie guy. I
mhm.
remember I went to a show once, and it's so funny because a buddy of mine messaged me this the other day. He goes, "Remember that fake Doink that wrestled Wacky Wayne?" And I was like, "Oh my god, skinny! The
Yeah,
costume was real, like look legit, but it was
yeah.
so big, it was hanging off this guy. We're like, this isn't Doink. Like what?"
That's great.
And Wacky Wayne was nuts. Talk about look in somebody's eyes. Like this guy is not all there. What a nut job. But yeah, he was a funny character. New Jersey indie guy, obviously. I don't know if he brought the level of work up though. You know what I mean? There was a level of work from certain New Jersey indie guys. Wacky Wayne's probably below it. You, Devin Storm, Mike Quackenbush, like those guys were like the good workers from New Jersey.
There was Devin Storm. Not to disparage Wacky Wayne Wu.
No, no,
Um,
no.
but
He
I'm just
wasn't
trying
that
to
type
think
of
of
worker
guys.
though.
Yeah.
Reckless Youth, I guess you can
Reckless
count.
Youth, I was going to say,
Tom
yeah.
Carter, yep, who was maybe the best. Yeah.
Simon, no, he wasn't the best. I was the best.
Oh, there you go. Simon
Simon
Diamond, Lance
Diamond.
Diamond, yep.
Yeah, every place had their great guy. It's like anything else. Every place has their great guys, and every place has their this guy's booked.
Yep.
It got to a point where you go to like Dapper shows. Dapper.
Dapper
Oh,
Johnny, yeah, yep.
you'd go there and you look at the sheet and you'd be like, oh, all right, it's me against I'm making up a name, Joey Vicious. And you look around the locker room and you'd say, I hope it's not him, or him. Which one of you is Joey Vicious? Oh, you? Oh, I could probably have a match with you. But it
Yep.
got so bad. It got so bad. It really, there's no commission in Jersey. But yeah, I mean, but on the flip side, there's a lot of good workers too in New Jersey.
Dapper Johnny used to always book Big Slam Vader, but put Big Van Vader on the poster. It's like, come on, he got me once. It's like, come on,
Big
damn
Slam
it.
was great. I love Big Slam. He passed away. I
Yeah,
wrestled him.
was
I had
that
a good match.
recent?
I had a good. I don't think it was recently. I had a good match with Big Slam. Great guy. Didn't take himself seriously either. So, like, if you're doing something goofy and you like think it's like important, that's one thing. But if you're doing something goofy and you know it's goofy and you're just having fun, I got all respect for that.
Right.
Slam was great.
Now you're saying you're the best. Devin Storm falls behind you. You're the best New Jersey indie guy. Not Rick Ratchet of all people. You?
um, I'll tell you this: Devin Storm was the most successful because Devin Storm wanted it the most. He This is like, so I was talking to Renee Dupree the other day, and they said, "Oh, you upset you didn't go further in wrestling?" And I'm like, "Well, I didn't go further wrestling because it's my fault. So it wasn't anyone else's fault. It's my fault. I
Yep.
expected. This is a lesson, just a life lesson here. If you want something and you're not kicking down doors to get it, and you think people are gonna, oh, this guy's got talent, he's gonna knock on your door. No, because when they go to knock on my door, guess what? 20 other guys are tackling them, trying to get a job. So they're not gonna come find me. Uh, Devin Storm was going to move down to Atlanta, go to the power plant, and earn his position. He got everything he had because he worked more, he worked harder, and was willing to sacrifice more than me and everyone around us. So if you see someone in life that has more than you, don't hate them for it and be jealous. Find out how they got there and try and get there yourself. But Devin Storm, he still works hard. He's still doing this. He's my age. He's 49. Excuse me.
You guys got to get
And
back together, right? I mean, I know you said you're retired, but that would be awesome to get the extremists, quote unquote, the extremists back together.
I can't say enough nice things about Devin Storm. He's a wonderful person. He's a hard worker. He still wrestles like he's 18. Still takes way too many bumps, and I don't think he's ever going to stop.
He's in
And
great shape.
yeah, it's not like we all know the guys where it's like, oh, this guy's in the show still. Is he going to hang it up? There's not a fan that sees Crowbar's name on the lineup and says, "Oh, that guy from the '90s, isn't he washed up by now?" No, Devin Storm is still going hard and strong and trying to help other young talent out, and he loves it. I don't think I'll ever love anything in my life as much as he loves professional wrestling. Just him, man. He's a great dude, and he has a lot of successes in and out of the ring, and no one deserves it more than him. Great person.
I'm always impressed. Like he doesn't really need to do it because obviously his other job is very successful. So it's like he just wants to do it. He loves to do it. Like that. I love the guys like that. It's like they don't need wrestling, but that's his passion.
The money is zero, a zero factor for him in this.
Yep.
Zero.
Yeah, his other job, my God, who knows how much money he makes doing that stuff? But yeah, he does obviously really well. I just always kind of admired that because he looks younger too. But it's like, wait, this guy's been wrestling for 30 years. How the hell is he wrestling for 30 years? He looks, he looks 29 instead of 49. It's crazy.
Great dude. Great family man. Been at Disney with him a couple times. If I need something at 2 in the morning, I'm calling him. Great guy. There's a lot of
You're
great
not
guys in wrestling.
you're not a big Disney fan, are you? Big Disney nut?
Um, I've been there. My kids have been there like 4 times, 5 times. So I love it. I'm more of an island guy. Like, we're going to Jamaica this year.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
more of a all-inclusive, sit on the island, let the kids go in the water park. I'm gonna drink and eat some more. And we go to beaches. It's like a sandals, but for
Yeah.
kids.
Yep.
We go to Ochos Rios. We've been there. It's our fourth time going there, and it's just the greatest place on earth. But I do
Nice.
love Disney. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Love Disney. Actually, me and my son will be going back to Disney. But we went last year. I've
Nice.
been a bunch of times too, but I mean, I love it down there. Going to the all inclusive aren't bad either. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Not having to
Yeah.
go anywhere.
Yeah. It's great. It's great.
Them them giving you double shots. This and that. I mean, it's yeah, it's
You go
good.
out, you
It's
go out to
living
eat.
the
You
life.
can't decide what you want. You say, "Give me both."
Yep.
It's great.
Yeah, you're living the life doing that. Yeah. With Devin Storm, with you and him and your relationship, I think everybody would remember because everybody was watching wrestling in 1997 when the Outsiders wrestled you guys not once but twice. How the hell did that all come about? How did you guys get in WCW, and then how did it happen twice?
So I don't know how it happened. But I can assume. Well, first part of the question: how did we get in WCW? We were wrestling for Tony Rumble
Hmm.
in the Boston area,
Yep.
and Kevin Sullivan would go to the shows. Now Devin did a few things before I was there with him. He had a few matches. He had one on Night Show at Conan,
Yes.
and he wrestled a few matches. But then he stopped working for them, and they worked for ECW. And then when that was done, we decided to start teaming. And excuse me, he he and I knew Kevin Sullivan from Tony Rumbles, and Kevin liked us and said, "I want you guys to work TV," and we're great. So we did TV. We did a few Saturday nights and a few dark matches as well. That's always fun, getting phone somewhere and you just get to wrestle. Get to wrestle some guys. Think about everyone watching wrestling at that time, and there's so much great talent in WCW. We really didn't get in the ring with a lot of them. So I mean, it wasn't the Eddie Guerreros and the Chris Benoits and the Dean Malenkos and those guys. We never got a chance to wrestle. But yeah, we did wrestle. Got to wrestle Glacier, and I love Glacier. Great dude. We got to wrestle High Voltage. We got to wrestle Joe Gomez, Renegade, Ice Train. Ice Train took probably 10 years off my life wrestling him. Oh God. It was so hard to wrestle and so big and so strong. He hit me with a clothesline. I'm gonna try and describe it to you. So he hits me with a clothesline like here, this is my head, okay? He hits me here, and instead of being able to take a back bump like this, I'm standing up back bump, he hit me so hard, this is my head. I landed like this, like
Oh my
backwards.
God.
Backwards, he hits me backwards on top of my head. I swear I'll
Jeez.
take a bump for you if you hit me not so hard, Ice Train. It was so hard wrestling him that like when we got booked the second time, and it was me, this time it was me and Crowbar versus him and Joe Gomez, I was almost excited because I knew Crowbar had now experienced the torture of getting hit so hard by Ice Train.
Yep.
So at least I could share that with him. Ice Train says, "Oh, remember that move? I forgot what he called it." He goes, "You remember my finish?" I go, "Oh, the one where you jump." I swear I said this word for word. You can ask Crowbar when you see him next. He goes, "You remember my finish?" I go, "Oh, the move where you jump as high as you can and you come down and break my sternum." Yeah, I remember that move. It was just, it was torture. It was not fun. Joe Gomez, greatest dude ever. But yeah, so a question. Okay, so yeah, we wrestled Hall and Nash. And I knew Nash and Hall from WWF TV. I wrestled Nash a few times as Diesel, and we wrestled them. We got squashed by them. And then 2 weeks later, I heard we were wrestling the Steiners. So we get to the airport, and we were like 22 at the time. We couldn't even rent a car. So we'd get to the airport, and there was no Ubers back then. So we'd get to the airport, and we'd try and figure out how we're going to get to the arena. We either make friends on the plane, we try and find one of the boys in the airport, bum a ride with them. Sometimes you can walk. One time we walked. I mean, it was, you do what you can. You're 22 years old,
Right.
trying to make your way in WCW. So we're walking to the airport. I'm like, how are we going to ride? And I hear, yo! And I look, and there's Kevin Nash sitting there at one of the seats. Like, what are you boys doing? And we're just trying to get probably going to get a cab to the hotel. He's like, you're with me. So he got the cab. He's like, you're working with us tonight. I go, I think we're wrestling the Steiners. He goes, who do you think books around here? He goes, you're wrestling us tonight. I said, all right. So,
Wow.
so yeah, Kevin, even Scott Hall. We'll get into that in a second. So we get in the cab, and Kevin brings us to our hotel and pays for our part of the cab, and then went on to his hotel. But Kevin was always cool. Scott Hall was always super cool. Always super cool. There's so much bad, and I'm not saying that because he passed away. If you're an asshole, I'm calling you an asshole when you die. But
Yep.
Scott Hall, he would literally, when he was Razor Ramon, he'd come over. I was an 18-year-old job guy, the lowest guy, the lower than the lowest guy on the totem pole, and he'd sit down and he'd talk to you. How's your day? What's going on? Where are you from? He'd talk to you like a person. And you know what? Some of these guys on TV that were famous for 6 months and probably now are broke, they didn't always do that for some of the guys around them. But Scott Hall was always super, super cool. I had nothing but good things to say about Scott. And I've again, it has nothing to do with the fact that he passed away. Scott was always super cool. And if you ask, like you mentioned Tony and PJ, if you mention Scott Hall to them, yeah, Tony will tell you.
They love him. Yeah.
Always cool.
I worked with him just booking wise, did a couple of convention stuff with him. I actually got him booked at a strip club. So I spent like 24 hours with him. I drove him all the way out there, drove him all the way back. And he was so cool. He goes, man, He goes, "You're the driver." And he goes, I apologize, but I'm going to talk your head off all night. He goes, I'm not letting you fall asleep. So like, it was awesome. He was just telling me story after story. I was like, man, I was like, I wish I was recording this. I was like, this is like the coolest fucking thing ever. Like and then we
Yeah.
get to the strip club, and I mean, I was surprised. This one girl was like knockout gorgeous, but he was so professional. He goes, I'm not drinking, I'm not smoking, I'm not doing anything. He goes, got to do the booking. He was, completely straight for, I mean, who knows about before and after, but those 24 hours, he was awesome. Like, I was like, man, what a cool guy. And I texted him afterwards, talked on the phone afterwards. He was awesome. Such a sweetheart of a guy. Obviously, he had his demons, but always nice to me. And Nash, the same thing's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Good guys. Smart guys too.
It was the extreme, right? Technically, it wasn't
Oh
the
God.
extremist, right? Right? They just called you the extreme, I think.
Um, both. I think they
Both.
called us the extreme. They said we were from Stanford, so it was kind of, I think, a rib on ECW and WWE by calling us the extreme from Stanford and then having us get our butts kicked. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That is funny because obviously if they bring you in, it's like, at first it's like, oh, who's Hall and Nash going to fight for the tag titles? And then it's you guys. I, of course, know you because I'm a New Jersey indie fan. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. These guys are getting there. But then when they wrestled you again, that's awesome to know that it wasn't even supposed to be again. Nash is just like, well, I'm putting it on the paper. It's happening. That's just so cool.
That's what he said. He goes, "Who do you think's booking around here?"
I love that. It's awesome. Just a cool experience, because we see you guys, at Raritan High School or something, you know what
Right.
I mean? And Virgil's on the card or whatever. And then all of a sudden
Virgil.
it's like, holy shit, they're on the TV. Oh my God. Your boy Virgil, of course. I know you love him. Did you ever wrestle him?
Oh, so it was a show for a guy in New York called Tommy D. I don't know if you ever heard of Tommy D.
Doesn't ring
He
a
ran
bell.
he ran a lot of like youth centers and church groups and this and that. And it was supposed to be me and Virgil in a street fight, and then Crowbar versus Brutus Beefcake in another gimmick match. So I said to Tommy D, why don't you take Beefcake, put him with Virgil, and take Crowbar and put him with me? That's what he did. That's what he did.
Wow, smart. Yeah. Wow, nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
you
I talked
avoided
my
working
way.
Virgil.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
talked my way out of it. Imagine wrestling Virgil in a street fight.
Oh,
Oh, torture.
I was watching, I forget who was wrestling on Saturday night. Man, he almost broke this guy's neck. And it was a
Yeah.
3-minute match. And I was like, oh my God, he
Yeah.
couldn't take care of the guy for 3 minutes. It was an insane move that he never did before. And he just decided to drop the guy in his head. It was nuts.
Saw him give a belly to back suplex that he folded the guy in half. And I saw one in WCW. I think it was against Buddy Lee Parker. I could be wrong, but he did something. It was over the top rope, and it was just, yeah, he almost killed the guy.
Yeah, not particularly safe. Now, I'm just thinking in my head, who was that like slightly bigger, I guess, promoter? Was it Eugene? I'm trying to think. There was a
You
big
know, Moore.
promoter. Gino Moore. Yes, yes.
Gino
Bigger
Moore
guy,
worked
right?
with that. Yeah, he worked with Dapper,
Yeah, he was
and he
Dapper's
worked
guy.
with Dennis
Okay.
Coralluzzo. Then he
Yes.
left Dennis
Yes.
to go with Dapper.
I'm just trying to think of some of the indie guys now that I'm thinking of Tommy D and Tony Rumble, all these guys. I'm just trying to think who ran New Jack City Wrestling? Who was like the booker
So
of that?
there was a wrestler called Mr. Lucifer.
Oh, yes, yes. Yep.
Yeah,
He
they
oh,
ran
he was
some
the
decent
actual
shows.
promoter?
Yeah, yeah, they ran
Did
my
you
hometown Freehold a few times.
did you work for New Jack
Oh
City?
yeah, a lot.
I thought so. I was going to say because I could have sworn I was at a show once. I think you were at a battle royal or something, but it was a bunch of like the good guys were on it, and Bam Bam was supposed to be on the card, and he didn't show, or he showed and they told him he needed to leave or something. He was late. I forget. It was something with he was late and he missed his match or something. But Virgil was on the show as well. I don't know if you were. I'm trying to just remember back if you were on that or not. I know you were on a bunch of shows that I saw, but I just remember those commercials. New Jack City,
Yeah,
come
yeah,
play in
yeah,
our hood. Yeah.
yeah. I remember
Yes.
that. Yeah, we filmed that at Mike Sharp's, the wrestling school.
Oh, really? Okay. And I think Lucifer was like front and center, right? In that
Oh yeah,
commercial?
yeah.
Yes. Yes. Come play in our hood, right? That was him. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Man, New Jack City Wrestling, all these NWA New Jersey, New Jack City Wrestling, Dapper Johnny. It's just funny, like hanging around that scene. It's not like that anymore, really. Like the Jersey indie scene, as far as like what I've seen, I feel like it changed so much.
Yeah, the only shows I really know about are Tommy Fierro's shows, and he's running a bunch of them.
That's like that gives me the old school, like this is like professional indie show kind of thing to it for sure.
Yeah, he's running a lot. He runs a whole lot. He runs 80s con, 90s cons coming up in September. He has the wrestling store, the wrestling collector store. This last weekend, we got to hang out with Jimmy Hart and Dwight Gooden at one of his signings. I don't know if you're a baseball fan or not, but Dwight
Yeah.
Gooden,
Yep.
yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, Tommy does a lot.
How was Doc? How was he doing?
Oh, he looked good. He had an entourage with him. He had like 10 people with him.
Really?
Yeah, but he was great to the people. I said to him, "Hey, here's a picture of my Uncle Phil," because my Uncle Phil. Are you familiar with the 86 Mets at
Oh, of
all?
course. Of
Okay, so my
course.
Uncle Phil looks just like Keith Hernandez, and he's the biggest Met fan ever. I mean, he's the biggest. So Doc goes, "Call him up on FaceTime." Wow! So I called my uncle, and he was talking to my uncle on the phone. It could not have been cooler. Yeah, real cool.
That's awesome. I'm a Yankees guy, but I know obviously I think everybody my age were very familiar with the '86 Mets. They were actually, I don't know if you were listening to the Mets game the other night, but it was all over the radio the next day. Gary Cohen screwed up and called Ric Flair instead of the Nature Boy, called him the Wonder Boy, and he kind of he went back and he said it was the Nature Boy. Somebody must have told him in his ear. But the reason is because the Brewers' first baseman, Rowdy Tellez, is his nickname. So Gary Cohen says, when you say that, he goes, who's the first guy you think of? And Keith said, Roddy Piper. And he goes, but I know nothing about wrestling. He goes, but he's more than wrestling or something like that. But I was just shocked. I'm like, wow, Keith Hernandez knows who Rowdy Piper is? Like, that's awesome.
That's great. Yeah.
And then they were having a debate over like who's mainstream, and like I guess Gary was trying to say like, oh, everybody knows who Hulk Hogan is, everybody knows who Roddy Piper is, and then he tried to throw out Flair, but then screwed up his name, so it kind of showed that while it might be mainstream, they don't really know too much about wrestling. I just thought that
I
was so
think
cool. I was like, wow,
I
Keith
think
Hernandez talking about Piper on the air on SNY, pretty
I
cool.
think Flair might have been able to get a longer run if he was the Wonder Boy. I don't know. Maybe. What do you
Oh,
think?
maybe, yeah, yeah. I don't know where he got Wonder Boy from, but that yeah.
Mm.
Somebody must have told him it's your Nature Boy. He goes, I'm sorry, I mean the Nature Boy.
Yeah, yeah, he didn't know that on his own. Someone said,
Yeah,
someone,
yeah.
yeah, for sure.
So when you're just going back though, when you're wrestling in WCW in '97, that doesn't matter to the WWF, right? I mean, they don't care where guys are working, right?
Um, Good question. I wasn't working for both of them at the same time. I was doing. I'm trying to think the order that it went in because it was WWF TV, then it was as Mike Moraldo, then it was maybe like a 2-year, 3-year break where I started making a name for myself. Then with WCW and just basically doing jobs there, and then WCW wanted to book us for the Disney the 30 days in Disney back in the day when they did those tapings.
Yep.
I'm so mad. I had summer classes I was taking in college. So mad I didn't do that. I would have had a blast.
Wow, what an
But
experience. Yeah, hang out at
yeah,
Disney
I'm so
MGM for a month.
mad.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Man, so mad I didn't do that. But that's life. So they wanted to book us for that. I said to Paul Orndorff, I said, well, I can make half the bookings. What if I come? He said, no, sorry, it's all or nothing. I said, sorry, nothing. And then like a month later, Jim Cornette started getting us booked for the light heavyweight division for the WWF. So there was never like 1 week I was here, 1 week I was there. Yeah, I wonder how that would have went. Hey, maybe I could have got a job. Hey, if you
Right.
want me, hire me. But that
Right.
never happened. But no, then we went back for the light heavyweight division, and WWF light heavyweight division was terrible. Money was very good, but no one cared about it because the WWF didn't care about it. I always say this: the WCW Cruiserweight division, the WCW Cruiserweight champion, was the focal point of the Cruiserweight division. The
Yes.
WWF Light Heavyweight champion was there to lose to bigger guys. That's
Hmm.
all it was. That's all it was. You're there to get squashed by the bigger guys.
And as a fan looking at it, it's like, wow, they're just copying the cruiserweight division. That's what it came off as, like a lesser than.
Name one great Taka Michinoku title defense. You can't. You can't. You
Yeah,
name
he had a
one
four
great.
minute win over Brian Christopher on
Yeah,
Raw or something. It was like, yeah, it would be a
yeah.
short match. Yep.
But how many great matches did Billy Kidman have, or Rey Mysterio, Juventud Guerrero, or Chris Jericho as cruiserweight champion? Or Eddie Guerrero, or any of those guys. Dean Malenko. You can list dozens of good matches.
Yep.
Name a good WWF light heavyweight match that comes to mind. You can't do it. The division was just there, and no one cared about it.
I think they brought in Sasuke once, but it was like an 8 minute match. So it was like, it would have been better if it was, I don't know, like Mysterio was getting 15 minutes, on the other program. It would have been a lot better had they cared. Like, it's weird. It's like they wanted to copy them, but they didn't care.
Yeah, I think did Sasuke wrestle Taka?
I think so. Yeah. But
I
it
th-
wasn't, I think it was 8 minutes or something. It wasn't a long match.
I think Sasuke was going to be the focal point. And I think Taka kind of got over, and they went with him instead. And I think that's what I think happened. Something happened where I think he was, because he beat Taka like two times in a row. I think he was supposed to be the guy, and for some reason he didn't. But they didn't have any. They didn't have any cruiserweights, and
No.
they didn't. The division stunk.
Would you even consider yourself a lightweight at that point? I mean, you were in pretty damn good shape then.
I was like, it's funny when I did jobs, I was like 205. They announced me at like 220, and then when I was in the light heavyweight deal, I was like 225, and they'd announce me as a smaller weight, like 210.
Yeah, because you were ripped. Yeah.
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 Yeah, but then I did this. I did the style, but I wasn't Rey Mysterio, but I could do a lot of the crazy stuff.
Right.
But yeah, they just didn't have a division. Who'd they have? They had nobody.
Nope.
They had Scotty and Brian. They decided to team them together, and then the title never did anything.
Did you have a good relationship with Cornette? Like, how did he bring you guys in? I know obviously you were in Smoky Mountain at one point.
Yeah, Cornette would always do what he could to get myself and Crowbar booked. Whenever he worked for Dennis in any Northeast shows, he would work with us. Always gave us great advice. I can't say enough nice things about Jim Cornette. He was just if you're respectful of pro wrestling and you appreciate the journey someone like him has been on to better the pro wrestling business, and you treat it with respect, and you are all ears, and you want to be better, and you have decent gear, and you're in decent shape, Jim Cornette will have all the time in the world for you.
He is, to me, who's always been a super nice guy. I did a bunch of bookings with him. This was a few years ago, but I got him this one booking thing, and I was like, don't worry about it, Jim. I was like, we'll figure something out, like a not a payoff, but like some sort of agreement after the fact. And he's like, here, hold on a second. Signs the scrapbook, the Midnight Express scrapbook, which is like a legendary item, handed it to me, and he goes, it might be worth something. And I looked it up. Like, my God, now it's worth like $600. So he literally handed me, autographed it, and he goes, he goes, get the other guys when you meet, whenever you see him, he goes, get the other guys to sign it too. So Dennis and Bobby and Stan, I mean, they all signed it for me. So I was like, wow, I was like, holy crap, like, what a nice guy. And he didn't have to do that. He goes, it's my last one or whatever. He didn't have to give me that book.
He told me the one he gave me was the last one. I think he's
Oh,
working us.
shit, yeah.
Jim's great. I love Jim. Again, if you're serious about pro wrestling and you respect what someone like him did and sacrificed to make the business a better place, Jim will respect you in return. He's not the crazy maniac shitting on everybody that people think he is by listening to his podcast. He's always had all the time in the world for me. So love Jim Cornette.
Hey, by doing that on the podcast and playing it up, it gets a lot of views. So
yes, I might start going nuts on my podcast.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, Barry guys, Rene Dupree, screw you.
Who? Screw him.
You injured me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just go nuts. Yeah, that'd be great. But as we hit the wind down here, we'll head towards the finish. Just looking back at your career, I mean, great worker. Do you think that it's one of those things where you like you said, you didn't put enough effort into it, but was it wrong place, right guy? Like what any regrets just as far as that? Like if it was maybe different timing, would you have pushed further? Like how do you like encompass that? Is there regret there?
I don't think I have regrets because I got three beautiful children. I got three cars in the driveway that are paid for. I can have use of my hands and feet, and so I don't think I have any regrets because it's like that Back to the Future theory. If you go back in time, you change one thing.
Mm,
I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
yes.
Who knows where I'd be? I might be in a
Yep.
wheelchair. I might be dead. Might be dead. I might have
Yep.
fallen asleep behind the wheel. You don't know. Um, I always say that if there was an NXT in '95 or '96, that would have been a perfect place for me to go. Um, no, the only reason why I didn't make it is because guys who did knocked on the door more times. That's the only reason. There's no other reason. I had the talent, I had the size, I had the ability. Everyone loved working with me. Top guys loved working with me. The office liked me. But yeah, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and I think that instead of knocking on the doors, I was content with doing the indies, saying, "No, they're going to call me. Of course they are." Are you kidding? They let because every time like Bob Holly or Bart Gunn or Too Cold Scorpio or one of their guys would do an indie show, they'd wrestle me. Because and
Yep.
they'd have to get approval to do the show and who they working with. So they knew me. They knew me. But again, Matt and Jeff Hardy were in their face. Christian was in their face. These guys, Scott Taylor, these guys who at one point were all on the same level,
Yep.
doing TV, doing this, doing that. They got up there. It's because they pushed harder, and you got to respect them for that. But no, I have no regrets. I do wish that I would have made more money and been a bigger deal in wrestling, just because I love wrestling so much. And I think that I think there's definitely a spot on a show for someone like me. I don't, nowadays, gosh, imagine if I broke in nowadays, I'd be world champion. I'm 6 feet, when I'm all in shape, 6 feet 240. That's a giant today. I was a midget when I broke in. I was a midget. Now I'm a giant. I'm the biggest guy in the locker room now if I
Yeah.
walk in.
Crazy.
But
Yep.
it's hard. I don't want to say, oh, it's timing. If I broke in now today, I'd be a bigger deal. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. But I can't even think about that stuff. I got, three great kids and life is good. And yeah, no regrets as far as that. But again, I get to wrestle. I know they liked me because I got to wrestle everybody. I get to wrestle. I get to carry a bum name. I don't know if you ever heard of this guy, Kurt Angle. I got to carry him in a dark.
Yes.
One of his first. I got to wrestle Kurt Angle one of his first matches at dark match
Yeah.
at TV. So I knew they trusted me. I knew they liked me. But yeah, I should have banged a little harder on the door.
But you're right, that is true. If you changed one thing, who knows, with the kids and the life you live now, who knows that may not have been there. Maybe the wife
Yeah, of
isn't there if you
course.
spend
Oh, of course.
a month down in Disney or you know what I mean? Like, or if you
Exactly.
didn't end up going
Yeah.
to school, yeah, you could have changed one thing, would have changed the future. Yeah.
Exactly.
Maybe ruin the future, maybe. Yeah.
You would have no guests tonight. You'd be sitting in this room all by yourself.
Yeah, it's true. I'd be sitting there looking at my ugly mug all night. Yeah, it wouldn't be good. Yeah. Now, just as far as like just favorite opponent all time, do you have like guys in mind? I love like finding that about some wrestlers because it's like really like that guy was your favorite opponent. Just sometimes it's shocking. It's maybe sometimes it's not.
I'd have to go with. It can't just be one person. But I'd have to go with
Right.
Crowbar. I had great matches with Crowbar. I had great matches with Kidman. I had great matches with Reckless Youth. I had great matches with Mike Quackenbush. Great matches with my buddy Mike Terrace. As far as like I got a real well known guy. Well, not that Crowbar and Kidman weren't well known, but I had a match with Marty Jannetty that probably my favorite match. If I had to pick one match, my favorite match ever would be me versus Marty Jannetty for an ISPW show, and Tommy booked it. And we went like 20 minutes, and he had his working shoes on that night. Man, he had his working shoes on. Excuse me, that night he was ready to go, and we tore it up. It was on YouTube for a while. I don't think it is now. I had I had one of the girls from ECW with me. I can't remember her name. It was she had blonde hair.
Chastity?
Yes, I had Chastity with me, and he had Bobcat with him. So the girls got involved at the end. It was a great match.
Nice. Marty. What
Yeah,
a awesome worker. I feel
yeah,
like everyone always goes, "Oh, you're the, he's the Genetti." You know what I mean? They always go like a negative. Oh, you're the Genetti of the team. If you actually look at in ring, I don't know if Michaels is that much better than him. If maybe equal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Jenny was awesome.
you want to talk about being a Genetti? Crowbar was my tag team partner. Matt Stryker was my tag team partner. Billy Kidman was my tag team partner. So I was the Genetti of every team I've ever
Yeah.
been on.
I always hate that though. I mean, he kind of did it to himself. If he stayed the straight and narrow, I think he would have been fine because he's just awesome and got 7 chances in WWF. Who else can say that? Like, he's that good. He just kept mistake. Like, yeah, we'll bring him back. So to me, just kind of hate that to the
Yeah,
Genetti team, but because he
yeah.
was awesome. Yeah.
I just think it's the fact that Shawn went on to be the performer of the decade.
Yeah.
It's not like that's where I think it comes from. Not a knock on Janae's talent, just how far Shawn went without him. But
Yep.
yeah, it is kind of a shitty thing to say to somebody.
Where was
Especially-
your where was your favorite place to work besides ISPW? Where's your favorite place to work?
I enjoyed working for the ECWA at St. Matthew's Parish, not the second building that they had. It was St. Matthew's. Have you ever been there?
No, I don't think so.
Great. The fans were so close to you, and it was an environment where most fans don't believe. Those fans believed. Like they loved their baby faces. The top baby faces were a guy named the Cheetah. Probably guys you never heard of that every wrestling fan should. These guys were that good, and they were so over. In Delaware, Cheetah Master and Boogie Woogie Brown, and they had for heels they had myself, Lance. That's where Lance Diamond got to start. Simon Diamond. They Crowbar. It was a great building. The locker room was in the kitchen, so you got to get food there too while you're in the back.
Nice,
There are big
nice.
things of French fries be coming by all the time, and it was always packed, and the people were just so. You grab a headlock and they'd go nuts. It was unbelievable, but that was a great building for wrestling. But then Jim stopped running there and went to some other building. It just wasn't the same for me because I just fell in love with St. Matthews.
Now, as far as you and wrestling and then and now, again, tell everybody where they can get it and what's next. What's coming up next for you guys?
What's coming up next? Good question. I got a lot in the can that I haven't posted yet. I have an interview. A lot of the guys I mentioned I haven't posted yet. My good friend Paul London's coming on again soon.
Nice.
Um, yeah, all the stuff like Ken Patera, Savio Vega, Mike Kyoto, Brooklyn Brawler, Boris Zukov, my good friend Alan Funk, Homicide, Sam Houston. I got a ton of stuff I haven't posted that I'm going to post soon. I post a clip every day. Every day I post something. And please give me a subscribe. Wrestling Then and Now. I love it. It's very special to me because wrestling's special to me again, and it wasn't for a while. And I don't know, I kind of let it back in, and I'm really enjoying it again. Still hard to watch stuff these days, but with Rene Dupree, always started watching the Monday night watch-alongs, and I'm not really into what's going on today, but I love the old stuff. I love pro wrestling as a whole. I love going to the locker rooms and just chatting with the guys, and it's just great to not that I'm a part of it again, but great to feel like you're part of it again and get to just talk about it. I just like talking wrestling. Like just tonight, this time was a lot of fun for me. It's got just talk wrestling. Two guys talking wrestling.
You got to maybe think about a return if you're getting that itch. I'm just saying,
You said that like 5 times. How much did Tommy Firo pay you tonight? Did he throw you a few bucks?
He did mention to me earlier
Yeah,
today something
yeah.
like, "Hey, if you talk to Ace, just I need a world champion right now." Yeah.
You don't get it. Tommy is on me all the time. Like 80s Con 2 years ago, I agreed to be a timekeeper. This year, I tell him I never want to step foot in a ring ever again. Then he had me come back for a general manager. They had me come back for a Hall of Fame. They had me come back as a referee. And I told him no a million times. He's like, Earl Hebner canceled on me last minute. I'm like, what? It's like one of the things, what do I do just to shut you up? Okay, I'll do it. Okay, I'll do it. Shut up. You know, stop texting me. But yeah, he's the best. I love Tommy. He's my brother. And there's nothing I wouldn't do for the guy except get back in the ring. Anything else you need, I'm there. Love
Funny
the guy.
because Bull James said he wanted to wrestle you too. So I was thinking, oh, maybe they both could convince you that could happen. All right.
He texted me nonstop about that too. He's a great talent, Bull James. Great, great big man. He can move for a big man, man. He should be working for a company.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
for sure.
definitely. Yep. Now, is there anywhere else where everybody can find you as far as social media?
Facebook, Mike Muraldo. Instagram, Mike Muraldo. I'm also WWF Golden Era and Wrestling Then and Now on Instagram. I don't do Twitter because I don't know how. Yeah, Facebook, Mike Muraldo. Yeah, anyone wants to hit me up? Give me a friend request or check me on Instagram or check out my YouTube, Wrestling Then and Now, and that's all, my man.
All right. The one and only Ace Darling making a name for himself yet again in the business. Thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it.
It's a question for you.
Yes.
Will we do a part 3 in 2029?
Yes.
Awesome.
Every 7 years. Yes.
Good. Well, we'll be talking in the meantime.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Ace. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John. You're the best. Thanks, buddy.